Hey y'all, I'm boring out some cones right now, and some of you have mini lathes at home and have asked, kind of how my procedure and how I do things goes. So I'm going to try to just do a quick video while I do this, and I'm going to just hold the camera with one hand and try to do this one-handed. I've already got everything adjusted how it wants to go, but long story short here, I run a 6-jaw chuck. I've got DROs, you can see already on my axes, and I do have a reversing gearbox right here in the corner. I have VFD so I can vary my feeds by turn of a dial. So pretty convenient. Now, what I do is I do this as a 2-part process. I first drill with an undersized drill. So the drill in question here is going to poke a hole that is 312, about 310, 312. It comes right about there, into the baffle. And then I finish with a micro 100 small boring bar. Now, usually I drill a little bit bigger than that for 30 cal to start, but the drill that I was using, I smoked it earlier, the other day actually, I want to say, on those JR Machine Pro thick ass cones, and I wasn't paying attention, wasn't using any coolant, and yeah, got it too hot, and it's toasty toast. So I'm using a different size. Now, the shitty part about the size I'm using is I'm had to go down even smaller in boring bars, so I'm using a pretty small boring bar, but usually I use this 1/4 inch wide faced micro 100 one here. Instead I'm using different micro 100 one, and in all reality I should have this chucked up closer to the end of my deal here, but I'm too lazy to adjust it for what I'm doing, because not a huge deal. Yeah, I want to say that is, I think it's 180 wide, so just small enough that it will fit into the hole that we are going to basically make. Now, what I do is I've already found center and everything, but I start off and I'll just index my cone right off the back of the chuck backing, and that's gonna be a little bit hard to do one-handed, but there we are. So if this was the first time I was going to do this, which it's not, I've already done a few cones, I would pull my tool out of the tool post, and I would just run this close, but not too close, basically so I can slide up my drill, my tailstock. And I reach back here, I lock it in place, and I go over here and I fire her up. Now I'm running about 400 RPMs. I'll run anywhere on 17.4, depending on how thick of a cut and what I'm doing. 300 to 500 RPM, roughly. Just kind of depends, but mostly I'm going to be around the 300 to 400s. And these are fairly thin, so I don't even really need to bother with coolant. I just go ahead and I kind of watch it until I see put a little pressure. I'm feeding it by hand, and you saw a little bit of chip form, and I'm just gonna feed this by hand. And like that, I'm through. And I back her right out. I unlock. I slide my post out of the way. I pull my feet back. Unlock my chuck. Now, if I didn't already have this set up, I would shut the machine off, and I would basically, and I'll do it for you, I guess, I would kind of adjust my compound until I could smoothly go in and out of that hole there. Okay? And then what I would do is I would adjust it back out, and I would make it where I hit up against the rim. Okay? So then from there, I usually will then zero my axis going this direction. Okay? So that way I know that I'm at the very tip here. Then I'll go ahead and do it for you anyway. 0. And I will back my bar off, and I will run it back in to where I can now go in and out. Okay, great, right? So that's 0. We're up against the tip. So now I'm going to just feed this forward till I clear here. See, I'm up against it. I'm going to feed this forward. So now I know that I'm clear, and if I wanted to, I could stick it in the hole. And I'm going to just move the bar in about 10 thou. So I can watch my little screen here. That was a little more than I wanted, but that's okay. And I'm clear, I'm not touching, I'm not getting any metal, yada yada. So now I'm ready to basically figure out how much I want to go ahead and remove from my hole. So I want to make my hole about 40 thou bigger than it is right now. So, I'm sorry, I want to make my hole 50 thou bigger than it is right now, which is going to mean I need to bring the compound towards me, the boring bar towards me, 25 thou, okay? So, first we have to find the 0 though. So, I'll start my machine. I'm going to slowly bring the compound towards me until I touch metal. And basically we're just barely inside the lip there. That's why we did that elaborate thing we just did, trying to... And you could just have eyeballed it, but... Okay, so now you hear we're just barely touching metal. We're going to 0 the access. You guys can 0 your dials for those who don't have a DRO at home. And we can go ahead now and pull our boring bar out. And like I said, I want a 25 thou depth of cut because I want to take 50 off my size. I'm going to bring the compound towards me, and I'm going to watch my little screen. You'd be watching your dials if you don't have a DRO. And I'm going to get basically the 25 here. And there she is. Okay? So, I'm going to add just a touch of arcane here. I'm not going to go too fast. I'm using a pretty small bar. And I'm going to go ahead and set my feed so that way the carriage will go towards the chuck. And I'm going to lock my lead screw and let it feed in. The chip looked pretty good there, so I'm happy with that. There's not very much to take off. And now, since I have reverse, I kind of like to reverse out and take kind of a second pass. You don't necessarily have to. It's something I do. So I've unlocked my lead screw. We're in neutral here. I can shut my lead screw off, and now I can put it in reverse. Many of you at home might not have that feature. I do. I like to use it. And now we're going to lock the lead screw again. And it's just going to reverse out. And you'll see it took some metal still. And that's why I do that. And I like feeding with the lead screw because it makes for a nice clean cut. Nice surface finish in the aperture hole. Not that it really matters, but that's it. We turn the machine off. I unlock my tool post, I pull my tool back out, I set it aside. I can move this if I want, and I never from here on out have to move my compound. Okay, and that's kind of the beauty of this. So from here on out, every other cone, I can now just pull this cone out. And again, trying to do this one-handed, sorry. Lock my next one in. Feed this back and forward so we can get the tailstock pretty close. Bring my tailstock up, lock it in place. Pull my tailstock out of the way. Bring my wheel back up. Now this time we're already adjusted. So I can unlock my tool post, drop my tool back in. It's already in the place it needs to be. Put my gearbox back where it needs to be. Lock my lead screw down. And just like that, unlock my lead screw. Again, I like to reverse my lead screw. I lock it back down, and I reverse out. Unlock. Back my carriage out. Unlock my tool post. Put that out of the way. Shut the machine off. And just like that. That simple.